There we go. So how's everybody studying for the test going?
Good.
People are nodding. Some people are shaking their heads. Standard. All right. So, this is going to be another review session. We're not going to be covering new material today, but we are going to be reviewing material already covered in preparation for the test we have next Friday. Is there anybody who has any kind of question whatsoever about the test on Friday? I mean, it's a test for a third semester class, you know. The material has increased in difficulty since. Although I don't know if this course is like harder than Java, actually, in terms of the material we've been covering. You know?
Would you say it's any harder than the old course that they used to offer, the PHP and JavaScript one?
No.
No?
No. No, I've only been here since January, so.
That was the class before they made this one. And the client-side one, I think they split it in two.
I think that's probably wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, like, what does this stuff really have to do with
JavaScript.
JavaScript?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it looked like it was, you know, it looked like the Java test has sort of been used as the benchmark, but that's like a 2-hour, those midterms are 2-hour midterms. And this is a 90-minute one, so it's not as long, right? So if you consider not as long to be easier, then it's easier. It's certainly been designed with that quote-unquote UDL component. So, the thing we were going to start off with today was doing some file I/O examples. Of course, prior to that, we got to get XAMPP launched and all the rest of it. So, if you'd like to follow along on your own personal computer, am I in frame?
Yeah.
If you'd like to follow along, please open up all of the requisite things. htdocs. Let's make a new folder. Call this test review. Good. So, let's start off with the basics. How to read a file from the file system on the server into your PHP script as text data. Good morning. Good, almost not quite morning anymore. File io.php. Of course, we're doing this in our ht.docs folder in XAMPP. Test review, file io.php. There we go. Now, in order to read a file from the file system, there must be a file to read. So let's create one. New text document. This will automatically give it the .txt extension in Windows. Let's just say data.text. And let's view those file extensions. There we go. Let's give it a little content. Really, Windows? I have to associate .txt files with Notepad? Come on.
Computers are set up with multiple programs that are trying to read it.
Yeah.
It doesn't know which one it wants to use.
But like,
It should default to Notepad.
it should, because it's like, if you're using it, if it's a .txt file, it's plain text. That's like the plain text file extension, yeah.
And if you have, say, for example, Notepad++, and you should have to go in and manually either change the file association or just
Yeah.
open the file.
Yeah. So, we are off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is a wizard of Wiz. If ever a Wiz there was. There you go. So, step number one for getting the contents out of the file. Anybody want to tell me? What's the first function we run?
Yeah.
Fopen. Fopen. Our first argument is the name, is the file name of the file that we are intending to open. The second is the mode that we intend to open it in. So in this case, it's data.text. Now, mode is given as a string. We've got 3 modes that we need to worry about in this class for the purposes of education. If you need more in your professional life, you should be able to adapt easily. So, what are the 3 modes? Read, write, and append. Very good. So, we have R for read, W for write, and A for append. There we go. So, in this case, we are reading. What is the return value of the f open function. It's kind of shaky today. I got complaints about how much it was shaking last time.
Really? Okay, let's try
If you could like hold it with your hand, I think that would work better. What?
I got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Might not be the best person for this role then.
It's like naturally handshake.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like just the way that a person's
Yeah.
hand shakes? Yeah.
Just in a way the pulse goes into it.
No.
Is there anything wedge in between two of the tables?
It doesn't work. No, it requires some attention.
This is why you get a tripod.
It doesn't fit in my briefcase.
There's a full one.
They still don't fit.
What do you mean they don't fit?
I mean, they don't fit in my briefcase. Anyway, not important. Let's move on. What is the return value of the f open function?
Is it a string containing the file contents?
No. It is not a JSON.
Resource or false?
It's what? Sorry.
Resource or false?
Yes. So false is one of the things that it can be if this operation fails. What is the thing that it is if it doesn't? No. Good try though.
Is it a format type?
It's not a format type.
So is it a string?
It's not a string. If anything, it's a struct. But you guys don't know what structs are.
Pointer.
So you need to construct what?
What does it do?
The texts are stacked against us.
No, it isn't. You just have to remember from the last class.
I don't.
I know.
It's a pointer.
File handle.
Yeah.
File handle object.
Just look it up.
This thing returns an object which contains all of the necessary data in order to read information from a file on the file system. This includes where the file is located in memory, that is, its actual memory location, rather than just its file name, its path relative to your current working directory. Additionally, how far you are through the file. So you recall that with certain read functions, you read in the file one line at a time. Each subsequent function call reads an additional line from that file. What keeps track of where you are in the file? It's that thing. Make sense? Good. Also, I don't have the money to buy a tripod right now.
So we'll get you for Christmas.
No, you won't. So, the next thing is, what's our next operation if we want to read the data out of the file? Basically, we've got two choices, right? Yes?
Oh, you gotta make sure it opens?
Ah, yes, you have to make sure it opens. That's true. We must validate the data. So, given that the function returns false in the event of failure, file failed to open. Probably the wrong file name was used. Is it exit? I think it's exit. All right.
Is it F closed?
want to avoid having to do the else case, but that's fine. Oh, wait, there we go. Gets me every time. All right. I don't have to close it if it failed to open in the first place, right? So, we now have the option of reading all of our data from this file, one line at a time, or all at once. Does anybody remember the name of the function to read everything at once?
Is it fgets?
That's the other one. Yeah. One line at a time is fgetS, or file get string.
Is it post?
No, it's not post. What is the operation we are performing? What are we doing with the file? Yes?
Is it file end of file?
That is a different function which tells us if the file handle has read through all of the file and has reached the end of the file, and it returns a Boolean. But that's, if we are reading one line at a time, we'll need that function too. So, what are we doing to the file? What are we doing? What's the operation? Just in general terms. We are reading the file. So the function is file read, or fread. So, fread file handle. This is all at once. The return value of fread is a string which has all of the data from the file in it. I have a piece of tortilla chip caught between two teeth. It's very annoying, and I can taste the blood.
Yeah.
So if I'm a little cranky, it's because my mouth is full of blood right now.
I wish I did something coffee too.
So, the fread function requires two parameters. Not only the file handle that we are reading, but the amount, the number of bytes that we wish to read from that file. In theory, you could write this so that it reads only half the file, a quarter of the file, section it out by bytes. But in our case, we want to read the whole file. So, how do you tell how big a file is? Instead of just like picking a big number.
Look at the metadata?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
We've got file size as a function. Now note that file size accepts as an argument the file name rather than the file handle. So, as a matter of fact, this file size function works even before you've opened the file. So you could like check to see if the file has 0 contents before you even bothered opening it, something like that, right? So, file size of data.txt. Now, your programmer fingers should be itching. You should be saying to yourself, my goodness, did we just write the same literal twice in one file? That's not fun or good or cool. That's what variables are for. So, let's create a variable so that if we wish to change this in the future, it can happen. What are you thinking about? Oh, I probably forgot the semicolon. There we go. So, in the first place, This means using the file name variable throughout means that you can use you only have to modify the file in one place to make it work for a different file name. The second thing it does, it allows you to take all of this code, wrap it in a function, which takes the file name as an argument, and then, for example, you could call that function repeatedly on an array of file names, right? By abstracting out that value, it makes your program more maintainable, sustainable, adaptable. It's good. It's a good thing. Use variables. Good. So, having read the data, we then wish to echo the data. Since I'm using the exit statement, I don't have to have this in an else case anymore, so I can just pop it in there. And what do I do with the file once I'm finished with it?
Close it?
Yes. Do you know the function name?
F close?
That's right. Fclose. There we go. Now, let's take a look. Super time. There we go. I don't care that there's an update available. I refer to the dangerously. So, there's the contents of our file. Lovely. Good. So, now, let's see if we can't protect against a stored cross-site scripting attack, right? This data is just being returned from that file on the server, right? That file on the server may contain unfiltered data that was put there by a user. Now, if you're smart and if you're wise, you never allow any user to put anything on your server permanently stored, which has any potential whatsoever of containing any malicious code. You always filter things before you save them. But it's important to maintain multiple layers of security, right? You don't just put up one wall and say, okay, there's my one wall. I'm going to assume that this wall is perfect and that nobody's ever going to get over it, and everything beyond the wall is fine and good and happy, and no more security checks need to happen. Always assume that anything that's not in your source code itself that you wrote yourself might contain baddies. For example, this is like the traditional one. But if you wanted to, you could also write one of these that, change the href or the href property of all link things to a rickroll or something equally malicious. So if we reload the page, you can see that our XSS alert box has been opened up. Nasty. So rather than immediately echoing the data, Let's take a look. Oh man, forget the function name. I quiz you guys on function names so much, and now I'm forgetting the function name that I was looking up earlier. Okay, give me a second. Filter variable. Filter var. Oh, that'll do it. All right. Filter var. First, we have the value that we wish to filter. Value to filter. So this will be data. Next, we select which filter we wish to use. Which filter do we use for strings?
Sanitize special chars.
Correct. Filter. Sanitize special chars. There we go. We covered this last time. What's the difference between sanitized special chars and sanitized string? Precisely. Whereas, what those special chars do? Yeah, it replaces the characters used for programming code with variants which are not interpreted as programming code, but still render the same. You know those codes with like the ampersand and the numbers afterwards? You had to use them to put the copyright symbol in like all your JavaScript assignments. That's what it's converting. That's what it's converting the sort of special programming characters to, so that they can still be displayed, but they aren't rendered as HTML code. There we go. There we go. Now, going back here, you can see, rather than rendering the script as script, it has plunked it into the file just normally. So, filter input is when you want to take inputs from any of your various superglobals. Filter var is when you just want to perform that on some regular variable. Same operation, different source. It's in theory completely possible to read in your variable directly from the superglobal and then apply filter var after that to it. You can split those operations up if you want, but there's really like what's the point? It's all done in one line for you right there. So, make sense? Any questions? Good. I'm annoyed by this, but I can't put breaks in anymore. Right?
You've been punished for your sins.
I have. I've been punished for not being trustworthy. So, if you were relying on the ability of this thing to have HTML tags to make your text look nice, well, we just defeated it.
I guess, is that aesthetic versus secured?
I mean, only if you want to stay with the fread function. Yes. So, you could do a couple of things. Once you've sanitized the string, you could trace through it and insert the characters for the break tag yourself where you want them to be. Or, In our case, all we want to do is break this file up along its existing file divisions. The reason this is happening is HTML gobbles new line characters, right? So, rather than reading our file in one big chunk, let's read our file in a bunch of little chunks, line by line. So, as was stated previously by one of your esteemed colleagues, the function for reading a line out of a file is fgetS. File handle. This will read one single line out of the file. Like so. So, in order to read the entire contents of the file, we must write a control structure. Which one? A loop. Now, the question then becomes, do we write a for loop, or a while loop, or a for each loop?
Oh, wow.
Explain.
For each, could do as well.
See, I'm not sure whether like it'll read every line out of the file by you applying a for each loop to a file handle. Python does that actually. In Python, if you use a for loop and you give that for loop a file handle, the values that it loops through are each of the lines in the file by default. But that's like a design decision in Python. I'm not sure that PHP would share it. So when we establish a for loop, we are establishing normally a set of numeric indices, right? Are we accessing a particular index here?
Just the first index 0.
First index 0?
It's not an array though, right?
No.
Yeah, but this is the file handle, right? So there's no I going in here, right? So we don't have any need to generate an I. This is one of those crazy situations where a plain old regular while loop actually is what you want to go for. That's right, folks. While, because it's got kind of a weird exit condition. The exit condition here is we want this to stop once we've reached the end of the file, right? So how do we tell if we've reached the end of a file? Someone said it earlier.
No,
False. Well, in theory, you could do it that way. In PHP, fgetS will return false if it hasn't reached, like, if it tries to read a line and there's no line to read, it will return its failure state, which is false, right? So you can use it that way. It kind of like, I think it makes it a little bit ugly to do it that way though, because you can't assume that the file has any contents to begin with, right? So you kind of have to take your stuff, put it up here, and then say data does not equal false, right? Or maybe do while loops. Do you have a do while loop, mister? Yeah? You guys remember do while loops?
Yeah.
So there you go, real world application of do while loops. You thought you'd never see them again in your life, but here they are. That would work. But there's another function that you should be aware of that you can use for the same purpose. Yes?
I was gonna say FEO.
Yes, FEOF. FEOF.
Be off.
So,
What does the last F stand for?
file. It's
File and the file.
file and a file, yes. Because the first one is like file operation, right? This is a file operation.
Yeah.
And then, have I reached the end of file character?
They could have just said fin. F-fin.
It's not like it's a little bit technically, like it's technically correct if you understand how files are structured.
Oh.
So when you have a file on your file system, right? The file system itself needs to know where that file ends, right? Have I talked about null termination in strings in this class? Ad nauseum, perhaps, hopefully? So in the same way that a string needs to know when it ends by having an end of by having a end of string null character, files need an end of file character. And I think it's an ASCII character. Let me take a look.
Really?
Pretty sure it's an ASCII.
So you can just end the file anywhere if
Sure.
you know the ASCII character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the text, start the text.
Start a text into text.
And transmission. File separator. Would any of these work?
No, it has to be one particular code. So the ASCII character it's ASCII character 26. So what are they using? Substitute. What? Weird.
Well, look at what the ASCII character of substitute is. And it says 26 and it's on.
Well, it is 26 right there. Substitute.
Well, then what if the table's wrong?
What if the table is wrong? This is the Wikipedia ASCII table. If Wikipedia is wrong, our entire civilization has been built on ashes. So, anyway. So the trick is, you have your end of file character inside of the file. You have your file pointer that tells you where you are reading in the file. If the file pointer is pointing to the end of file character, you have reached the end of the file. So what the FEOF function is returning is the file pointer pointing to the end of file character? That's what it's doing. So that's why it's FEOF. Yeah.
Personally, sir, I think it's better than that.
Of course, file end of file returns true if you're at the end of the file, so we want to loop while it's not true. So we've got to inverted Boolean style, just like so. So both of these are equivalent ways of going about it. Any questions? Yes, good. Wonderful. So, the question then becomes, you know, now that we have a file, what do we do with the file, right? But that's a different question, you know, that's like string processing, that's like the meat of the question type things, right? You will have to write some kind of algorithm. Maybe, you know, maybe this file contains a whole bunch of those serial numbers that you did in assignment 1, and then you process each of them in sequence. Who knows, right? So, we have talked about reading. Let's talk about writing. So, can anybody tell me the difference between the write mode and the append mode?
Write gets rid of everything in the file and just starts writing.
Yes. So write gets rid of everything in the file and just starts writing, and append adds it to the end. That's right. Write mode is overwrite mode. Append mode is keep the stuff you have, put the new stuff at the bottom. Yes.
So, if you wanted to put it in the middle, you would have to write and like essentially copy everything on the file to wherever you want it to be.
Yes. Yes.
In append mode, can you also erase or no? Like, can you get rid of that or no?
No. No. There are read and write modes which exist, but we're trying to keep it simple.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering.
Keep it, yeah. Like, you do have things like a RW mode, which in theory you can do both read and write operations. To be able to do a read-write mode, you must be able, like, if I have some file contents and a pointer, you then need to introduce operations which allow you to move the file pointer, right? So you need to be able to select which line you're on,
Yeah.
right? Which, I mean, it's reasonable to do, right? I'm not saying that it's too hard for you people or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be on the test, right? And this is test review.
Yeah.
You could totally, you know, figure it out, but it's not in the curriculum.
Okay.
You know? So, to further elaborate on your answer, or your question, which I think might actually make a good in-class example, in order to insert something into the middle of a file, our current approach, read the entire file in as a string, perform your modifications of that file using, you know, regular string manipulation, etc., and then write that back to the same file name in overwrite mode. So,
Should you echo that?
yes, that's true. Oh yeah, I didn't actually run this, did I? Oh, am I, let's see here. I got a loop, infinite loop in here.
Maybe it's just no file format.
Maybe it's returning null then. Let's see here. There we go. Return string or false. Okay. While, and you know what? Let's try the other one.
The first one.
Oh, and it's not echoing. And point of this was for me to be able to insert breaks. So there you go. There you go. So,
Still wondering why that didn't work.
let me take a look at it for a moment. Okay, cool little tip. If you don't know that this works, if you put the end comment character itself inside of a comment, it still functions as an end comment character, but it's always syntactically valid, so you can just leave it there. And then you can toggle code by only modifying the top opening multi-line comment thing. Anyway, so let's see here. Data FFS. How about file data that's not gonna work. So what are you even doing that data? What happens if I just like do it a bunch of times? I know this is like, what the heck is it doing? All right. You know what? Just use the A file and file method.
I guess you really will never see the well loops again.
Yeah. I'll see if I remember to see if I can figure out why the heck that's not working. But anyway, so let's write a file, shall we? So let's first do write mode. The procedure is very, very similar to opening a file for reading. You just replace the little R with a W. I'm going to do this with a different file. Wait, what? What am I doing with those? There we go. So, notice that I'm recycling the file handle variable. Once you've closed it, that's now dead data. It doesn't matter. You can reuse the same variable name. So, we need something to write into the file. So let's say content is, I can't think of a controversial opinion about Pokemon right now.
Game sucks.
So, if the fread function reads data out of a file, which function writes data into a file?
Append.
I mean, everybody's thinking it, but somebody needs to say it.
F right.
Thank you. So, the first argument is the file stream that we are writing into. Second, the data. And that's it. Oh, yes, and we also need to make sure that this operation doesn't fail. So,
Very kind of simple.
yes. Okay. So, what are the things which will prevent a file from being opened in read mode?
File set to read only.
Sorry, file is set to,
The file itself is set to read only.
well, that would prevent it from being opened in write mode if it was set to read only. But yes, that's a good one. Inside of the file system, files have different permissions for different types of operations, both read permissions and write permissions. These can be restricted, so if you do not have permission to access the file in the way that you want to access it, you will cause an error.
If you're accessing a read mode, the file can also exist.
Precisely. If the file does not exist, this then opening it will fail. In the case of writing to a file, will fopen fail if the file doesn't exist? No, it does that first one that you said. Yeah. So, yeah, you were going to say what I think. What were you going to say?
Rainbush.
Say again?
Rainbush.
Try catch. Well, that's what we would use in PHP, right? But if the fopen operation, right? If you're trying to open a file in write mode and that file doesn't exist, what does fopen do? Will it fail or not? It will not fail, actually. If you try to open a file in write mode and that file does not exist, fopen will create it. So, we don't actually require the file to pre-exist on the disk in order to write to it. Question?
I didn't think of a controversial opinion about before.
I'm sorry.
I didn't think of a controversial opinion about before. For you, if you'd like to.
Okay, what's your controversial opinion?
The first generation, the first games, wouldn't be as popular if they weren't ordered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how controversial that is, honestly.
That's
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so another thing that can cause fopen to fail, and this is like a very rare edge case, but if the file system itself is out of memory, right? You can't write anything to a disk that's full. So, good. So then we close our file stream, and there you have it. Taking a look inside of our htdocs folder, you'll notice that we now have more data in the doc text, which has popped into existence. Opening that up, you can see it contains the string which was written. So far, so good. So, any questions about that so far? Yes.
Wouldn't it just make more sense to like always make a new file? Because like if it's gonna erase the stuff in it anyways and replace it, then
So the question is, wouldn't it make sense to just always create a new file rather than erasing the old file? Why would we want to do that? Well, we come into the realm of like contingencies based on what like the actual program does, right? But a lot of the time, when you're writing files like this, you're writing them to files with specific names that are expected in by other PHP scripts, for example, right? So, you remember my tic-tac-toe example that I brought forward at the beginning of the semester?
I wasn't there.
Well, I won't go through the whole thing, but basically it's about 3 PHP scripts which all share one common file which holds the state of the game of tic-tac-toe. And then the PHP files do things like, you know, send that information to the client to be rendered and that sort of thing, so that multiple people can play on the same game of tic-tac-toe. So, if the PHP script that receives a move sent from the client created a new tic-tac-toe file every time it received an input, first of all, you'd run out of memory quickly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not quickly because they're small files. You would eventually run out of memory, right? And number 2, how do the other PHP scripts know where to look for the new file? Right? They have to, they look for a specific file name, right? So writing it to a different file name will mean that other programs, other PHP scripts won't be able to find the file, which means they'll either use the old copy and ignore updates, or, you know, it'll break things in many interesting, fabulous ways.
I get it now.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, though. Any other questions?
I know it won't be on the test or whatever, but I'm assuming through PHP you can also delete files.
Oh, yeah.
They're part of some form of probably an attack.
Oh, yeah. It's probably like remove or something. Delete a file. Let's see. There is no delete keyword or function in the. Okay. What about unlink? The unlink deletes a file? How is what? Unlink from what? What?
F remove would have been.
Oh, it's Unix. See, unlink function. Okay. Okay.
You can test it with like 2 files we're using for this one. Each of this, just the file created. Let's just see what it does.
Yeah. Okay. Let me show you another one though. You know any bash scripting?
No.
Well, you should learn a little bit.
I know bash scripting.
Now, this is something you don't want to give to the client. So, shell exec executes command via shell and returns complete output as a string. So, you can, in fact, just use bash commands in PHP. The bash command for removing a file or deleting a file is very easy. It's just rm file name .txt. That's it. Backticks operator, you say. Oof. PHP supports one execution operator backticks. Not single quote. Okay. Oh man. Woo! All right. Wow. Okay. Anything you put in backticks, it executes as a shell command. Yeah. Oh baby. Now we're cooking with gas. All right.
Is there anything that
Now
writes to the
test
kernel?
Huh?
Is there anything that writes to the kernel?
No, you don't have sudoing provisions, unless your account does, in which case you could use the super user do operation through the backticks, because you've now got Linux. You've got all of Linux available to you now. So,
That's very dangerous.
it's extremely dangerous. I'm gonna make a new PHP script and try it out.
You're gonna crash your computer, sir.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna crash the server.
Okay.
It's not this computer. Well, actually, this is XAMPP, so.
So not only are you going to crash this computer, you're going to crash all the computers connected to the server.
We'll
Which
see.
might get you in trouble.
No,
We
it's
have it on
sandbox.
video.
This is sandbox. It'll be fine.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
make.
And besides, I'm an expert. I know what I'm doing.
Okay. Just make sure. I want to make sure that you're not doing anything that will get you
No,
in trouble.
it's
Especially because we were recording your actions.
Backticks rule.php. All right. Backtick. Remove rm more data.txt. Backtick. So if you want to know what a backtick is, it's the little apostrophe above your tab key. It's like right underneath escape. Some laptops may put it in a different place. So, all right, let's do this. Backticks rule.php, execute. Oh, interesting. Oh, wait, I forgot the PHP thing. There we go. Well, it didn't do anything because it's been rendered as HTML text, but now, there we go, and boop, and boop. Ah, interesting, okay. More data.txt. Yeah. So, it might be not working because, like, although this thing is pretending to be a Linux Apache server, like the file system itself is still Windows, so it might be interfering with me on that account. But I mean, if you're just running on CS Unix, in theory, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to just use shell commands from PHP extremely easily. So
That is unfortunately easy.
it is unfortunately easy, isn't it? It's like, for the amount of bash scripting I've been doing lately, I'm like, anything I've been doing in PHP, I could easily do in bash script. You know, like, why even PHP? You know? Anyway. Where was I? Something about teaching people things.
Something about school or
Something about something. Okay. So I feel like we've had a reasonably thorough treatment of how to do this with text objects. Let's now turn our attention to different types of data, right? So in PHP, we've had two primary different types of data structures that we've been worried about so far. What are they? Arrays and... No, not lists. Not objects, although we could, under the JavaScript definition, I am talking about objects.
associative arrays?
associative arrays. That's right. Remember that in JavaScript, the associative array becomes the object. And you can also attach methods to them, though they don't show up in JSON. So, anyway. So, let's imagine, just for the sake of interest, let's file name 3, yet more data, .txt. Let's just copy pasta. In write mode. Let's make this an associative array. Let's make this some kind of somewhat complex data. So, we've got, let's say, name, Dr. Moore, occupation, professional, know it all, children, Felix, Cordelia, unnamed. There we go. Now, if we try to write that in, it's complaining that it's a type incompatibility because that thing's not a string. So how is it that we take something that's a complex structure containing associative arrays, strings, and all kinds of lovely, lovely junk, and how do we convert that to a string? JSON encode. Very good. So, I mean, there are obviously a number of ways that you could do this. You could write your own encoder decoder, but why would you when JSON exists, right? JSON encode. There we go. So remember, you encode on the way to storage, and you decode on the way out of storage. So then, if we execute, oh, that's backticks again. Boom! Warning, fclose supply resource not valid stream 1. Line 49. Oh, well, that would do it. There we go. I had to fclose twice. There we go. Let's take a look. Remember, you got to refresh the folder. Yet more data. There we go. So notice, the braces around the associative array have been transformed to curly braces. The braces around the array are square braces. This matches Java's notation, or JavaScript's notation. After all, JSON does stand for JavaScript Object Notation. Yes. So, okay, good. So let's do an example where we read this in and do something to it and write it back. Sound good? So, now this fclose doesn't work. let's open it in read mode. Rather than our content being some hard-coded baked hard-coded baked values, we want to read it from the file. When you're reading JSON data, you don't really care about line numbers. The way that JSON works, JSON ignores white space, such as new lines and tabs, etc. You will find occasionally JSON which includes all kinds of tabs and indentation and new lines that makes it look nice for human beings to read, but most of the time, it's just going to be computers talking to each other and they don't care about white space, so it's going to look like what I had on the board most of the time. So, long story short, you don't want to read it in one line at a time, you want to read the whole thing out in as one big chunk, right? So, what's the command to read something in one big chunk? F, read. There we go. File size. File name 3. What do you think that unexpected? Oh. Good. Now, the problem we now have, this is being read out as a string. The regular file read operation does not know that this is JSON encoded data. Nowhere here have we said this is JSON data, guys, right? So we need to decode this information as JSON, assuming it's JSON, and then we extract out the data structure that we were working with previously. So JSON decode all of that nice business. Make sense? So far so good? Now we can do stuff to it in the middle. For example, maybe I want to add another field. Jam is equal to strawberries. Something like that. Then I keep the stuff where I'm writing this. Wait. That's going to have to go later. So now, I have the content, right? I've opened this in read mode. Once I've extracted what I need from the file, I no longer need to have the file open. So, I can F close it. Then, we can open it again in write mode. Write the content into it, and then close it. Make sense? You looked impressed. You doing okay? Okay. So, if we execute this, let's see here. Line 65. Okay. Maybe I've got it wrong. A second.
Isn't it because it's a string? Or what is it?
content plus equals jam yields strawberry. See if that hopefully works. Localhost race not be converted to int. Line 65. Interesting. What? Am I running into PHP version issues? Let's see here. Weird. Let's just do an existing one now.
Occupation is equal to
There we go. Hopefully that works.
Is it because, didn't you say it becomes a string when you encode it, or am I?
Well, in theory, I've decoded it already.
Oh, you're
right?
oh my bad, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. It's good when things go wrong because then you get to see how I try to fix things.
Yeah.
So, echo, let's see.
Yo. You wanna hold it? Sure, bro. It's fun.
Let's see if we can get anything echoed. No. For each content as entry, echo content yields entry. Let's see, can we print? Recoverable fatal error. Okay. So it seems to think that this is an object then. So echo content, no, arrow, occupation. No. Let's see. Haha! So the reason that it wasn't working as an associative array is because it was actually reading it as an object, not an associative array at all. How irritating. There's got to be a way to force JSON decode to read it as an associative array. Come on. Ah, there we go. Bool associative equals false. So let's turn that to true. All right. Now, let's see what content at occupation is equal to. And there we have it. I won't take a bow.
Why?
So now, because that script executed all the way through, if we take a look at yet more data once again, you'll see that the update has been made. My occupation is now something boring. There you go. So, this means we should be able to add stuff to the content as well. Jam is equal to strawberry.
Strawberry.
There we go, run that. Take a look. Jam yields strawberry has been added. So, some useful points here. Number one, JSON decode has an option that allows you to set whether or not it's reading things as objects or as associative arrays. In general, I recommend working with things as associative arrays for the time being. Objects in PHP are kind of I have similar complaints as I do with Python, basically. I hate objects inside of a like a weakly typed environment because they think you can just add anything to it at any time. You know, it's terrible. Like you should not be able to add a method to an object on the fly. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's a line I'm drawing. But anyway. If you wish to add an element to an associative array, this is the way that you do it. And continuing our review of associative arrays, can anybody tell me how you remove an item from an associative array? There's a function for it. It's the unset function. You will see that the name field has been deleted. There you go. Further, it is also possible to tell whether or not something is in the associative array using isSet. So if you want to do something like, you know, if isSet content jam echo, this man likes jam. Something like that. Make sense? Any questions? Good. all? Is everybody just kind of like, oh man, it's Friday, I just want this class to be over? Yes?
I had 6 hours of sleep.
You had 6 hours of sleep? Ah, that's
That answers it. You have a child.
Actually, she's been sleeping pretty well lately. Yeah. We got her sleep trained, so. Yeah. Yep. All that falls apart again in me, though. Yeah. So let's see. We could also go through the file upload stuff, but it's not on the test, and this should be a test review.
We'll have to go. Yeah.
For the assignment. Yeah. The assignment hasn't been published yet, but it's kind of currently, was it published? Okay. Hey, why don't we go through the assignment?
Wait, there's some.
Take a look. I'll give you some pointers.
Oh, did you get a .NET?
All right. So, in general, assignment 2 is working very similarly to assignment 1 in many respects. You are given starter code. You have to write just the PHP scripts. So, data processor.php, based on the get parameters provided by the client-side code, identify which button was pressed and which sorting operation is active. Yes, yes, yes. Read the text from the file, parse it into an associative array. For the Pokemon file, use field names, name and image as index files. Yep. Then implement the sorting based on the selected sort operations. I wonder if the intention is for you to actually sort the data, or if there's a PHP sort.
There is.
Yeah. Sorts array in place by values in ascending order. Yep. But if you want to impress me, you'll write your own sorting algorithm. Come on, they're easy. The easy ones are easy, the hard ones are hard. Who can name a sorting algorithm? Quicksort. That's a quick one. Quick answer too.
Bubble sort.
Which one? Merge sort. Bubble sort. Yes. Selection sort. Oof. The only appropriate response to selection sort is oof. Heap sort. Radix sort. Shell sort. Yes.
You know how the point of all the different, like, when you look at like the time for this sort array, how fast is it compared to like, because you know how there's like different algorithms to like focus on speed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, my point is like, is that one really the best sorting like method to actually use, or like, because obviously the most important, like generally speaking, what you care about the most is speed, right? When you're
Yes.
sorting something.
Well, whatever it's
Not
using.
not every time, but
Yeah, whatever it's using, it will have been optimized for a server,
yeah.
right? But that's an interesting question. Let's
Like,
see here.
for example, if you use like this one versus like, I don't know, like a quick sort or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Which one will be faster, or like which
Ah, quicksort.
Oh, okay, okay.
So PHP is using quicksort. Quicksort is kind of your like I need a decent sorting algorithm, but I don't want to think about it too hard type
Makes sense.
algorithm. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Anyway, so back to the assignment. So basically, you have to read in a CSV file, sort it according to this, that, and the other, and then output it back again, which, you know, fair enough. Question 2, let's see. Receive the file, post to receive the CSV file. Ah, there we go. It seems the primary difference, so question 1, you're reading a JSON and you're sorting it, and then question 2, you're reading a CSV file and you're sorting it. So question 2 is a file upload, so you will have to use all of that nice stuff. Yes?
So on the last 2 assignments, we didn't have to like alter our HTML code.
On the last 2 assignments.
On this one included, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes, yeah.
On the test, will we have to like do something like that, or like something we did yesterday where we had to make like a form or something or a table?
No,
like
there's
days?
not going to
Okay.
be any HTML
So it's just
whatsoever.
it's just going to be PHP.
This is just server side.
Okay.
Yeah. When I do the HTML in class, you'll notice that I like try not to
Yeah.
linger on it.
Yeah, I get it.
Get the simplest thing that'll get it working quickly. Like in class, I have this thing where like I like to give people full working examples, like done from scratch,
Yeah.
because I guess just to prove to you that it can be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes
And that you don't need the starter code.
Yeah.
You know? But so that's why I spend a small amount of time in class doing some HTML.
Okay.
But as a sort of a general rule, no, there won't be any HTML or JavaScript on the test. There will be a great deal of, you know, you must know how to program PHP.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of knowledge required on, like, how does the client and server communicate? How do the client and server communicate? What does the path of the packets being passed around look like? When is PHP actually executed? When is it executed relative to HTML being executed?
Makes sense.
Basically that stuff, all of that stuff that was in the modules for like the first week or 2.
Okay.
That's when it was like primarily that kind of stuff. You may expect the other sort of secondary topics to be coverable on the test. So things related to XSS attacks will be coverable on the test. Ooh, that reminds me, actually. The file, like the data that you have to process that he's given you contains XSS attacks. So you have to actually protect against them when you do this, when you do assignment 2. Just so you know,
Okay.
filter your gosh darned inputs, people. All right. Yes, the data contains XSS attacks.
Okay.
So, yes. So, remember that stuff about XSS attacks. It would probably be good to know the different categories of them, run through the scenario that we ran through in class, right? Basically, read the stuff, make some jot notes, get it in your brain for the test.
Yeah.
And I know we've got like a full week before the test, so this is a lot of prep for the test, but
Can never be enough.
it's also weighted as much as the exam. So,
Yeah. It's important.
you know, this is a major midterm.
So if you get 100 on this test and then you failed, like get a 0 on the exam, then you pass the course, right?
If you got like, let's see, that would give you the 30%, so you need another 20%.
Oh, so you'd have to go on,
So
yeah.
the remainder of the course is 40%, so you would need to also pass all of the assignments with a 50.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm getting the math right. Good.
Nice to do that.
Yeah. Any other questions pertaining to the test or the course or anything? Can I do an example in 10 minutes? I don't think I can.
I guess the less than like 5 minutes. So please, bro, please.
I kind of feel like I've lost
Let's
the
come
interest.
back to you too. Should I just stop it? I think like it's Friday, you know.
Yeah, it's Friday.
I got a
Is this your
buzz.
last class of the day, you guys? No?
Yeah, it's mine. I got a bus.
It's rough.
5 minutes.
Object oriented. Yeah.
No, I have like 2 buses. My next one will be like 2:40.
Okay. I did get an official copy of some practice material. So I will be publishing that probably when I get back to my desk around 4 this afternoon.
I heard about something, but like,
If not,
I'm still scared the person.
So,
What card do you have?
I don't like doing it. I don't like releasing class early. But you know what? We didn't have a break in the middle.
You drive it from at 40?
No, we don't have breaks in this class. It's only a 2-hour class. I'm trying to come up with a justification for letting the class out, man. Come on, help me out. All right. That's it. Thank you. I have nothing more to say.